So feminism is a really difficult issue, and since I am male by gender, it is quite difficult to encompass all the issues that are raised in feminism in a way that are embodied. And anything I say might be actually prejudiced and might reflect my own cognitive bias. Having said that, I am very much interested in feminism in recent weeks, months, and partly because I read. I'm listening to the Middlemarch by George Eliot. This is a really interesting novel, touching on really delicate subjects of gender and the fact that George Eliot actually was a female and she pretended to be a male to be taken seriously because at the time it was thought that female writers would not be capable of authoring serious novels, which of course was a prejudice, but George Eliot is a creative way to overcome that barrier, this name. And so I'm reading it, and it's quite interesting. And it's a story about a young female who is wooed by this aristocrat. However, she's attracted to a much aged minister or whatever, and he says that he's intending to publish a book which would be a major cultural accomplishment, and so Dorothea, who is a protagonist of this novel, is attracted to him and marries him against the better judgment of her friends and relatives. But she's very disappointed because this gentleman who said that he is going to change the world with his publication is actually very ancient in his approach, and he does not actually welcome Dorothea as his equal partner, which is sad, and he treats her just as a kind of his subordinate. And on their honeymoon to Rome, this gentleman, Casaubon, he goes to that Vatican library and buries himself in the manuscripts, but he does not ask his wife Dorothea for help because he thinks that female intellects are somewhat inferior to male intellects or whatever. So this Middlemarch is a really interesting study in the relationship between male and female, which I think is still relevant today in an era where many men are still capable of mansplaining, which is something that I try to stay away from. This video might be actually mansplaining, but I'm not explaining this to a particular gender, so please forgive me that. Anyway, so that is Middlemarch, and I'm listening to it through Audible. But the reason why I'm interested in feminism as such is probably dates back to a few years ago when I was attending the TED conference in Vancouver, and Elon Musk was giving this talk about going to Mars, and he said that since anything could happen to Earth's environment, we should have a Plan B or Planet B, and not in so many words, but something similar to that. And he said that distributing the human population all over the place in the solar system would be a good idea because just living on Earth would be too risky, considering the potential impacts of environmental change and so on. And so Elon Musk's argument was that we should really go to Mars and inhabit Mars so that human population would be distributed not only on the Earth but also on Mars and elsewhere, so that there will be a contingency plan, so to speak, in the case of environmental catastrophe or total nuclear war on Earth. Now, a few talks later, a speaker, I remember her to be a female. She actually, was giving her talk, and she says something totally different. But in her talk, she mentioned Elon Musk's talk, and she said, in a very candid way that maybe we should not think about Plan B so easily, and we should rather think about treating the Earth as a mother planet, and not think of doing such a bad thing to the Earth, and using Mars as a replacement. And there was this huge applause from the audience. Of course, the audience loved Elon Musk. Everybody loves Elon Musk. I love Elon Musk. But in this particular situation, what Elon Musk said about treating Mars as Planet B, or a part of a contingency planning in which we do something, in case we do something bad to the Earth, was somewhat probably out of tune, seen from the perspective of this female speaker. And that, I think, represented the difference between male and female gender. The male gender tends to speak about contingency plans, and the male gender tend to, treat embodiment as if it was a joke. Probably, it's quite interesting. This talk about mind uploading and whole brain emulation, it's probably gender-based. This whole idea that if you upload the information in your brain to some computer or robot or whatever, you can treat that as a contingency plan or security or insurance policy, and probably you can discard this biological brain. That whole idea might be actually male biased. I think it's complementary to say that females tend to treat each embodiment seriously, as if there's nothing else. And in many cases, actually, biologically speaking, if there's nothing else, it's too obvious and it's a no-brainer thing. But this whole premise of embodiment, I think, is very, very essential when you think about the philosophical differences between male and female embodiments. And that actually affects when we discuss things like going to Mars and treating Mars as a contingency planning tool in case we do something bad to the Earth. So, this difference between the male and female genders, I think, goes really deep down, and that's why I am interested in feminism right now, because I think it touches on the very foundation of what we think about ourselves and the world. Another example is Ada Lovelace, and this wonderful lady, who was arguably the first human programmer ever. Charles Babbage devised this differential engine, and Ada Lovelace famously conceived of programming on this machine not only these militaristic calculations where you use the computer to calculate, for example, the trajectory of ballistic projectiles. Men are always obsessed with warfare and battle, and that is actually the only rationale the government would spend so much money on such a device as the differential machine. Ada Lovelace, however, thought something completely different, which was Ada conceived of the possibility of using the computer for creating music and creating pictures. So this was a precedent to the modern ideas about computer graphics and computer music, and by more than 100 years. So in that sense, Ada Lovelace was truly a pioneer. But not only that, I think this difference between male attitude towards computing and female attitude to computing is a very profound one. And I suspect that it might be relevant to this day. So Ada Lovelace was not only a pioneer in the sense of computer programming in general, but at the same time, she was a pioneer in bringing about this feminist agenda, if you like, to treat each embodiment seriously, and also to use technologies for something that would beautify and make better our living condition. So you see, these are the reasons why basically I am interested in feminism right now. And in Japan, I'm based in Japan, and I'm in a hotel in Okayama City, and in this country, unfortunately, feminism has a bad reputation. Well, the reputation is not so great. There are people who are against it, and so there are these superficial confrontations, but deep down, I am really interested in but by the way, I am on the liberal side, right? I am all for feminism on its superficial social implications, but at the same time I'm really interested in the deep philosophical implications of feminism, just as I described. So maybe I thought that since I am in Okayama, why not talk about my interest in feminism before I go out for my daily chores. So nice talking to you. Whether you are a man or a female, and if you are female, please pardon me if I sounded to be mansplaining, which I didn't intend to do, but you should be always careful about these things.